Hey, what's going on, guys? So I thought I would do something fun today and rank my PS4 games library as well as my PS5 games library. Admittedly, there won't be many PS5 games that I'll rank because I haven't played a lot of games that are built for the PS5 quite yet. But of course, the PS4, there's a lot of games that I played, and I'm just going through my PSN account here with all the games that I've attached to it, and I'm going to rank them. So I'm streaming this live on Twitch right now. I plan to upload this to my James Talks Games YouTube channel, and I may do a little bit editing to it, but I hope you guys enjoy the rankings stream here. One thing I should probably say before I get into this is just, my opinion changes. I don't always, my opinions on games change over time. Like, there'll be games that I probably would have ranked higher years ago that would be lower now, and and sometimes my opinion doesn't change on the games. My point I'm trying to say here is, me ranking these games, don't take it so personally. Like, if you don't agree with my opinion, I want to hear what other people have to say about my rankings. But let's just try to be respectful of other people's opinions. And if you think my rankings of these games are bogus, then feel free to say why you think that. But obviously be respectful of it. And if you want to share your favorite PS4 games, your favorite PS5 games, you can leave that in the comments or in the chat and Twitch here. But my point is just, this isn't a gospel. I'm just gonna go through each game here and just give a little tidbit, maybe talk about each game for maybe 20-30 seconds. Well, depending on what game it is, I may talk about it for a few minutes. But let's just agree to disagree. If I know a lot of times on the internet, people take other people's opinions so personally, and if it doesn't line up with theirs, it's like, oh, how dare your opinion be different than mine? How I don't understand why people get so offended. But I think that's also the beauty of the internet, is being able to share your opinions and converse with other people and talk about, just have an open discussion. And that's what I want the comments from this video to be, is to have an open discussion about these games. But anyway, so I went into the PlayStation website here, and it lists all the games, it lists all the apps, it lists the demos. So unfortunately, I can't really filter out the other stuff. So some of it I just will have to glaze over and just I won't talk about it. Just give me a second here, guys. Just gonna have some water before I get into this. So yeah, I'm gonna be updating the rankings as I go here. Okay, so abandoned real-time trailers. Obviously, it's not a game, but there's been a whole controversy around this, and I'm not really going to address it right now. I may talk about that in another video, but that's not really a game. Plague Tale's Innocence. I plan to be playing that very soon. I don't really know much about it. I know it's set in the time of the Black Plague, and it's a story-driven game. And by the way, I may also be using YouTube here from time to time to pull up a trailer. But Plague Tale Innocence, I can't rank it because I haven't played it yet. So, yeah. And then Resident Evil Village demo. I may try out Resident Evil Village eventually. Final Fantasy VII, the original from PS1. I played the remake last year, but I haven't gone around to this. Now, Demon's Souls. Demon's Souls, I picked up and played through maybe 2 hours of it. And I just don't know if Soulsborne's games, Demon's Souls, Bloodborne, I just don't know if they're my cup of tea. I can see why people enjoy them. And I can see why they're popular. But I just don't know if they're my cup of tea. But what I would say is that these games, the level design and the art style are probably the most enticing parts of these games. And I have played Bloodborne, which I'll be talking about later in the video. But Demon Souls, I didn't play much of it. I wasn't, when I picked it up, I guess I just wasn't in the mood to play it. I stopped playing it. So maybe eventually I'll get back to it there. Okay, so Control and Control Ultimate Edition. So let me look up the trailer here. So Control, trailer. Make sure the audio doesn't play. Okay. But Control I played in 2019 when it came out, and it's this third-person action game. And it's a very atmospheric game, and a story-driven game. It's made by, what is the developer's name? I can't think of what they're called right now. But anyway, I really enjoyed Control, and I really feel like it's an underrated game. Let me see if I can show some gameplay, if this trailer will show anything. Yeah, so in some ways this game kind of reminded me of Infamous. It was just like a very creepy, atmospheric game. And frankly, I didn't really understand the story. It was a little bit confusing, but I think it was like purposely designed to be that way. And I did play a little bit of Control Ultimate Edition on the PS5 here. And it's just like 60 frames per second. The game runs smoother. There was some technical issues with it on the last gen hardware on PS4. But Control, since I played it originally on PS4, I'm going to rank it here. So what I'm going to do here is rank it as my number one PS4 game, since it's the only one. So Control. I can't think of the name of the developer. Oh, Remedy. It's right there on the screen there. Remedy. They made Alan Wake, which was an Xbox exclusive, which I never played, but I know that game sort of has a cult following. So let's add Control here. All right. Control. And that's my number one game. Okay. All right, so let's go to the next game here. Oh yeah, Disney Plus, the great game. No, it's not a game. All right, Infamous Second Son. So this really brings me back here because, and it's funny, I was just talking about Control and I was comparing Infamous. But anyway, Infamous Second Son, I played it way back in 2014. And yeah, what can I say? I mean, I'm a huge Infamous 1 fan. I did like Infamous 2, but Infamous 1 is definitely my favorite in the series. And Infamous Second Son takes place in Seattle, and there's a new character this time. I believe his name was Delson. And I should look up. Sorry about that. Let me get the trailer up. But I remember the game just. What stood out to me how colorful it was compared to the original Infamouses, or especially Infamous 1, which kind of had like this gray art style to it. It was very gray and kind of darker art style to it. Yeah, let's just go to the trailer here. But honestly, I don't remember much from this story. I remember it involved Delson and his brother. And by the way, I'm gonna try not to spoil story-based games here or stuff that happens in games. this video, so I'm just I don't worry about spoilers for this video here, guys. But I remember Delson was voiced by Troy Baker, who's, you know, seems like to be the voice actor in every video game. And this is actually coming back to me as I watch this trailer here. He had like these smoke abilities, and later in the game you get this additional set of abilities, like this neon light abilities. I don't think that's a spoiler, but in the original Infamous 1 and 2, you used electricity, which I thought was really cool, but this game was like smoke abilities. And I remember just having fun just traversing Seattle. I don't think it's as good as Infamous 1 or 2, but I thought it was a solid entry in the series. So where would I rank this? By the way, like I said, this came out in 2014, so I felt like this was like the first like system seller for the PS4 here. So I would probably rank Infamous Second Son at number 2. I thought it was good. I just thought Infamous 1 and 2 were better. So let's add Infamous Second Son to number 2 here. I hope eventually Sucker Punch remasters Infamous 1 and 2 and bring them over to PS4 and PS5, because the only way to play Infamous 1 and 2 on the PS4 or PS5 is through PlayStation Now, which you would have to stream it, and streaming is not nearly as good as obviously having a game downloaded onto your hard drive. So hopefully eventually they remaster those games, because I really do miss those games, and I would like to go back to those games at some point. Unfortunately, I don't have a PS3 anymore. That's the only way to play them. Well, play them with them on your hard drive, I should say. Yeah, I don't think we'll ever get another Infamous. I think Sucker Punch is done with that series for now. But you never know. Superhero properties are very popular, so. But no, I kind of feel like Infamous ran its course, and I'm glad Sucker Punch is working on something different now. Okay. I know that's really uneven there, but alright. Let's go to the next game here. So Bloodborne. Alright, so I was just talking about Demon Souls, so Bloodborne. I played through the entirety of the main story. I really had what really inspired me to play it was a buddy I had at work at the time, and he's a big Bloodborne, Demon Souls, Dark Souls fan. And you know, like I said, my Demon Souls, with Demon Souls, what really stood out was the level design, the art style. I just don't know if these games are my cup of tea necessarily, and I do think they're impressive. The boss designs are very impressive. The character designs, I should say. I don't mind a challenge in games, and of course, the Soulsborne games are notorious for being very challenging. These games were challenging to the point where it's like, it kind of just like stressed you out to play these games. And I'm not saying I'm never going to play a Soulsborne game again, because I feel like I need to maybe give them more of a chance. It's hard as a newcomer to get into this series, and I'm not saying I never will. Who knows, maybe a year from now, after Elden Ring comes out, I may try it out and become a huge Soulsborne fan. But it's just, there's a lot to learn. The game doesn't hold your hand in any way, which I somewhat respect. But at the same time, it's kind of frustrating to figure out the game sometimes for me. But if you have a buddy that teaches you how to play it and all the mechanics and all the things you pick up, that was the thing that I really struggled with, was the things I was picking up. Like, what does this do? Like, I had no idea. And it's a game that, these are games that you really should play multiple times, and the more you play it, the more you learn, get better. I mean, just like any game. But Bloodborne, I understand why so many people love it and consider it one of the best games on PS4. Just for me, at this point in time, I don't know if these games are my cup of tea, and I may, like I said, it may change eventually. I may like these games more. But honestly, when I finished Bloodborne, I was kind of relieved, and I was just ready to move on. I didn't really want to play a new game plus, additional campaign. I didn't want to do any of the DLC. I know there's a lot of content with this game, but I was just like, I was ready to move on to something else. But I thought the game had a very cool atmosphere to it. It was very atmospheric, very creepy atmosphere. I don't necessarily think it's a bad game. I just don't know if it's my type of game, So Bloodborne, yeah, I'm gonna put it at number 3. I know this is probably gonna be controversial, but for me, it's gonna be number 3. All right, number 3, Bloodborne. And I may try out Elden Ring when it comes out, or I may wait for it to come down in price before I try it. I know that's a highly anticipated game. Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. I wanted to get around to this series for a while. I finally did, and I played a little bit of Crash Bandicoot 1. It's definitely a challenging game, but I'm really enjoying it. I love the personality. I love the personality of Crash and just the personality that this game has. Yeah, I never played the original Crash Bandicoot trilogy on PS1, and I know this is really the series that put Naughty Dog on the map there. And yeah, I mean, I definitely will get back to this at some point. The games are definitely challenging though. So unfortunately, I can't rank these at this point because I just haven't played enough. So yeah, I'll get around to it though. Ratcheting Clank Ps4. I just finished Ratcheting Clank Rift Apart on PS5. I loved it, but I'll be getting to that game later. Ratcheting Clank 2016, a lot of people call it. I believe it's a reimagination or reimagine of the original Ratchet & Clank game from PS2. And admittedly, I haven't got by it yet. I've probably played like a quarter of the way through it. And honestly, I don't know if I will go back to it. I enjoy Ratchet and Clank, and before Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, I was kind of actually a casual fan, but I've always enjoyed these games, and yeah, I don't really have much to say. I mean, if you like Ratchet and Clank and you haven't played any of the games in the series, I think this would be a good place to start playing them. But I don't know if I will go back to it, just because I just played Rift Apart, and I don't know. I just don't feel like I need to go back to this game at this point. But maybe I will. Who knows? So I won't rank that game. Bug Snacks I got on PlayStation Plus. I haven't played it yet, but it looks really funny and quirky and kind of cute. But I will try that out eventually. Now, Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales. So I love this game. I got the platinum for it. I'm not much of like a superhero fan. I'm not much of like a Marvel person. I'm not someone that's gonna go out and watch every Marvel movie. I mean, I've only watched like the first and second Avengers and a little bit of Iron Man and a little bit of Captain America, but I'm not really that big of like a superhero guy. But I've always kind of liked Spider-Man, and of course I've watched some of the Spider-Man movies. But and I got the platinum for this game, and I'm a big fan of Insomniac. Let me pull up the trailer here. So, of course, this is uh, the follow-up to 2018's Marvel Spider-Man, released on the PS4. And let me look up the trailer there. But, I mean, this game didn't feel a lot different than the 2018 version. I mean, of course, you're playing as Miles Morales instead of Peter Parker this time. And I would say the game, well, it looked obviously prettier because I was playing on PS5, and it was smoother. You have different abilities. I feel like you had less abilities with Miles Morales, but I kind of liked that. I felt like in the original 2018 Spider-Man, you had too many abilities that you couldn't really utilize. Like a lot of the abilities in that game, I never even touched. And I feel like this game, it's more focused on the abilities, and I really enjoyed how Miles Morales felt to play. I think I honestly had more fun with the gameplay in this game than in the 2018 Spider-Man. And I also gotta say, this game you can beat, I would say, in around 8 to 12 hours, which I think is the perfect length. I wish more games were that length. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, games have to be longer. I mean, sure, you can have a video game that's 30 hours and every second of it's enjoyable, but I just feel like when you make video games 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, whatever, 100 hours, it's hard to keep it engaging from start to finish. Every second, keep it engaging. If it's, short and compact, I think it's easier to make it more engaging from start to finish. And I feel like those experiences that from start to finish you're engaged and you're not bored and you're like, oh, when is this game going to end? I feel like that's more impactful in some ways than games that are a lot longer. But it depends on the type of game you're making. Is it an open world game? Is it a story driven game? A lot of factors go into game length. But my point is, I feel like there's too many games nowadays that are long for the sake of being long because they feel like that makes their game better or it adds value. For me, the biggest factor in value is quality, and I think it's easier to make a quality story driven game if it's around that 8 to 12 hour mark or 10 to 15 hour mark. Not always, but I just feel like nowadays there's too many games with too much dead time in them, and just they try to add these side missions and whatever. But anyway, Spider-Man Miles Morales I think was the perfect length. The platinum's not too hard to get. It's a little time consuming, but I enjoyed the gameplay. The ray tracing in this game, how you can see the sun hit the skyscrapers and everything, the lighting, it's incredible. So Spider-Man Miles Morales will go at number 1 here on my PS5 games. Okay, so I'm back here. So Plague Tales Innocence, the PS4 version. I think I downloaded the trial, but I never got around to it. But like I said, I'm going to be playing that soon on PS5, the PS5 version. So, yeah. Now, Fall Guys. I'm not a big multiplayer guy, but I feel like I'm starting to become more of a multiplayer guy recently here. But Fall Guys, what can I say about Fall Guys? It's just goofy fun. That's what I can say about it. And it was a game I got on PlayStation Plus. What was it? Maybe last year. And it's what I love about it is it's such an easy game to just jump into and just, it doesn't take any time to get into a game, and it's a game that anyone can play, and it's easy to understand. It's not, a complicated game to really figure out. But it's pretty much like that show American Ninja Warrior. And you just control, I don't even know what you call this guy. But you just control this character and you jump around and you deal with these obstacle courses, and and players get eliminated if they don't qualify. There's only a certain number of players that can qualify in each race or match or whatever you want to call it. But it's just goofy fun. That's all I can say about it. And it's a game I definitely will be playing for the long term and just jumping in from time to time. And, it's just good after like a long maybe day of work where you don't want to get into like a very engrossing game. You just want to just sit back and relax and maybe just chill out and listen to a podcast. And Fall Guys is just fun, and it's goofy fun. That's all I can say about it. So Fall Guys, where would I rank it on the PS4? I mean, I'm really comparing apples to oranges here with these 3 PS4 games. I'll put it at number 2. All right, let's go to the next game here. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 Campaign Remastered. Got it on PlayStation Plus. Haven't played it yet. I actually never played Modern Warfare 2. So eventually I'm going to get to that. And I always enjoyed the Call of Duty campaigns. I'm not that big into the multiplayer. Sometimes I'll play it, but not really. I'm not really a big multiplayer guy, as I said, guys, there. MLB The Show 20. So I probably play MLB The Show more than any other franchise, any other video game franchise. I'm a big baseball fan in real life. I actually just went to a Red Sox game yesterday there. So MLB The Show 20. Admittedly, nowadays I really only play Road to the Show. I don't really play any of the other modes, but through the years I have played the franchise mode. I played a little bit of Diamond Dynasty here and there, but not really that big into Ultimate Team. But I just enjoy this game, and I feel like it's a really good simulation of real baseball, and I think it's just a fun, relaxing game to play, and it's sort of like Fall Guys, where it's just easy to get into the game and just kick back and relax after a long day of work. But MLB The Show 20, let me think about this, because I play the game every year, and this was the last PS4 version I played, so I haven't played it on PS5 as well, but I'll rank it on the PS4 here. This is tough. Should I put it ahead of Control? I mean, the thing is, I'm comparing a sports game to a story-driven game that, I haven't put as many hours into. For me, I think I'm going to put MLB The Show at number 1 just because of how much I play this game and how much I enjoy it. And typically I would say, story-driven games are my favorite types of games. But just because of how much this game means to me and how often I play it, I think I need to put it at number 1 for now. All right. On to the next game. Oh boy, Ghost of Sushima. Now, this game I love. This game is amazing. Let me pull up a trailer here. Ghost of Sushima takes place in, I guess you could call it ancient Japan. I think it takes place in the 14th century off the island of Sushima, which is a real location in Japan. But you play as this samurai named Jin, I believe his last name is Kasai or something like that. But it's another Sucker Punch game. And what I love about this game is it's immersive. The environments are beautiful. The vistas in this game are beautiful. Let me just pop up a trailer here. And the story I thought was pretty engaging and interesting. And granted, this game does have a lot of side content that can become a little bit repetitive at times. But it never got to the point where I felt like it became too repetitive. Like, it was a little bit repetitive, but it wasn't like repetitive enough where I really felt that it hindered the game. But this game is just something else, and I think, I mean, it's so different than Infamous, which I really love. But I think this is probably the best story based game that Insomniac Sucker Punch has made, and without spoiling, I think from start to finish, the story is compelling. And yeah, I mean, the only real complaint I may have about it is that sometimes it did feel a little bit repetitive with the side content, and I did get the platinum for this game. So, you know, I did play quite a fair bit of it, a lot of it, and I'm actually looking forward to the DLC, which is coming out on August 20th, which is Iki Island, I think they call it, which is going to add story content to the game, and I plan to be playing that. And I haven't played New Game Plus yet, but I think I will try it out. And I also got to say, I do enjoy the combat in this game. Admittedly, I thought the story at times was a little bit predictable, but I don't know, it didn't really bother me too much. But I thought overall, this may be my favorite game from Sucker Punch ever. And it's definitely one of the best open world games I've ever played. So Ghost of Tsushima, I gotta put that at 1 for PS4. Alright, so next game here, SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom, Rehydrated. So this is a remaster of this game that came out originally, I think, on PS2. You know, I kind of grew up with SpongeBob. I definitely watched a lot of SpongeBob when I was a kid. I did play maybe like the first 2 levels of this game, and yeah, I mean, it feels like I'm playing. I feel like I'm watching the cartoon again, but just playing it in a video game. I don't know what I was trying to say there, but no, I think this game is. It seems like it's fun, and it definitely has that feel of a early 2000s 3D platformer, and it seems like there's a lot of collectibles in the game, and I may go back to it at some point. I think I just got this game just for nostalgia reasons, so I can't rank it just because I haven't played it through the whole thing. I haven't played enough of it. I never played the original PS2 version, but yeah, I know. I mean, it seems like a good, fun time. Star Wars Battlefront 2. I got it on PlayStation Plus. I've yet to play it. Of course, I know there was a whole controversy when this game came out and loot boxes with the multiplayer. Admittedly, I think I'm more compelled by this game because of the story. I think I want to try to play the campaign. But honestly, I don't know if I'll ever get around to this game. I may or may not. I mean, I'm kind of a casual Star Wars fan. Not the biggest Star Wars fan, but I may try it out eventually. Call of Duty World War II. Again, I typically play Call of Duty for the campaigns. I don't really play much of the multiplayer, and eventually I may go try this out. Alright, so now we're getting into The Last of Us Part 2 here, and just ignore that other stuff. Now, The Last of Us Part 2 is a sequel to my favorite video game of all time, The Last of Us Part 1. And I know this game, at least in certain circles of the internet, is controversial. And by the way, I did a video on this game discussing about it, get into the spoilers about it. I'm just going over to my James Talk Games channel here. But yeah, I made a video 1 year later, some of my thoughts on The Last of Us Part 2, where I get into the spoilers and I talk about mainly the story and some of the things that happen in this game. And I think I kind of made it seem like, I don't know if I would say I made it seem like everyone hates this game, but I definitely focused on or talked about how many people just didn't like the story of this game. And that's what's controversial about this game is the story. But I also know that a lot of people do love this story, and a lot of people think Last of Us Part 2 story is actually better than Part 1. And I did mention in this video that after my first playthrough, I was kind of on the fence how I felt about the story. And I mean, I love the gameplay of this game. I think it improves upon the original. It just feels more fluid. It feels more fleshed out. And I'm looking forward to whenever Factions multiplayer comes out. And so the gameplay I thought was excellent. And I really did enjoy the gameplay of The Last of Us Part 1. But this gameplay in this game, the combat is better. And it's such an intense game to play, though, too. But as far as the story, and that's what everyone wants to talk about with this game is the story, the more how I think about it is, I think of this story as like an onion that has many layers. And the more I peel back the layers of that onion and understand each layer, I think I'm appreciating the story more. I'm understanding what Naughty Dog had wanted to do with this story. And yeah, this story is very dark. It's frankly quite depressing at times. But I would say this story, I haven't been able to get out of my head since the second time. I haven't been able to get out of my head, actually, since I started playing it June 19th of last year. And there really hasn't been a day where I haven't not thought about this game. And the story, I'm trying to think of the point I was trying to make here. It challenged me in the way I think. And I'm trying not to spoil here, and it's just very hard not to talk about the major stuff that happens. But no story has made me think and feel, and has made me experience as many emotions as this story has made me experience. And this story is so much more than a revenge story. I would say it's about revenge. It's about empathy. But it's also about seeing the world from other people's perspectives, and the cycle of violence, and how violence impacts people, and or the cost of violence on society. And I would also say this game is about forgiveness. And again, I wish I could talk about the spoilers, but I'm not going to talk about the spoilers. If you want to hear me talk more about the spoilers, watch this video here on my YouTube channel. But for me, I can't stop thinking about the story now. And it was the second playthrough where the story just started to click with me. And that was after, I just watched a lot of YouTube videos and a lot of interviews of people from Naughty Dog just talking about the stuff that happens in the story, and seeing other people's opinions that love the game, but also people that didn't like the game. And I know there's people with legitimate criticism for the story, and some of it I agree with. Like, I thought maybe in some parts of the story the pacing could have been a little bit better, and maybe the story relied a little bit on convenience at times, but it didn't really impact the story that much for me. And this story I've never felt stronger emotions from playing a video game, or really any story, before. And it's really, on the surface, if you see the stuff that happens in this game just from bullet points, it may sound like, a dreadful experience. But I would say you got to go into this game with an open mind. And I would suggest playing through it multiple times and just not listening to outside noise, and just formulate your own opinion. I'm not saying you're going to like it, But for me, part of the reason I really did start to enjoy the story on my second playthrough was because I went in with more of an open mind, but I also understood the story more, and it just started to click in my head what the story that they were trying to tell. And I think even if you don't like the story, I think you gotta give Naughty Dog props for making a story that's bold and in some ways, well, I mean, not in some ways, but it is a risky story, and they could have, made a similar story to The Last of Us Part 1, but this story feels so different, but at the same time, it connects so well to The Last of Us Part 1. And, I've beaten this story now 3 times from start to finish, and just the more I think about this, let me just take a breather here for a second. Just want to pull up a trailer. But the more I think about this story and the more I play it, I feel like this game is just aging like fine wine. And yeah, I mean, I think this game is a masterpiece, and I think the story, I understand why it's controversial for some people, or well, not some people, but in some circles of the internet. And the game asks you to accept some pretty tough stuff. But for me, I think this game's a masterpiece, and I do love the story. And I didn't address this in my Last of Us 2 video on my YouTube channel, but just the acting performances, just like in The Last of Us Part 1, are just phenomenal. And Ashley Johnson, who plays Ellie, and Troy Baker, that plays Joel, you can tell they're passionate about the characters they play. And I can't get over their acting performances. I think they're well-written characters, but when you hear Ashley Johnson and Troy Baker talk about the roles they plays in these games, I watch interviews with them talking about The Last of Us Part 2. You can just tell how passionate they are about it. And I just think they're part of the reason why this franchise is so beloved, and why this franchise has won a lot of awards. I mean, I know The Last of Us Part 2 was controversial among many parts of the internet, but it did win a lot of awards, and it won a lot of awards from players, not just critics. So I think this game's a masterpiece, and I understand why not everyone feels that way. And if you feel that way, you can certainly share your opinion. But like I said, let's keep it civil. But I think The Last of Us Part 2 is a masterpiece, and it's definitely one of my favorite video games of all time. Where it ranks, I'm still gotta think about that. But just this game, just the more I think about it, the more I play it, the more I love it, the more I love the story. And yeah, that's what I have to say about The Last of Us Part 2. So I'm going to put that at number 1. And I'm actually going to be right back there, guys. Okay, so I obviously had a lot to say about The Last of Us Part 2. And I plan to make more videos discussing it in the future. But I can't stop thinking about this game. I'm obsessed, obviously. And yeah, I just think The Last of Us Part 2 is a masterpiece. But let's get to the next game here. Fallout 76. I played a little bit of. I enjoyed Fallout 4, but I'll be talking about that later. Fallout 76, I only played for a few hours. It's an online game, so I don't really feel like I played enough of it to really rank it here. So for now, that's going to remain unranked. NBA 2K20. I haven't played as much NBA 2K in recent years. I'm not as big of an NBA fan as I am baseball or football. But I always thought NBA 2K put out a good product with those games. So I'll leave that unranked. I don't feel like I play enough of NBA 2K nowadays. Journey. Now that's a game I definitely want to try out. I know some people regard that as one of the best games on PS3, and I know it's a very short game that you can play in one sit-in, but it's like a very artsy game with kind of a cool, relaxing atmosphere to it. And you know what? Actually, I think I'm. You know what? I'll rank NBA 2K because I used to play it, a lot of it back around maybe like NBA 2K14, NBA 2K15 time, and that was on PS4. So let me just rank NBA 2K. Maybe I'll put it just as the last spot here. NBA 2K, and I mainly just play like career mode whenever I play this, and I mean I have played a little bit of franchise mode with NBA 2K, but I definitely haven't played it as much of it in recent years. All right, let's go on to the next game here. So Final Fantasy VII Remake. Now, I'm not sure if I'm going to rank this or not because I got maybe like 75% through it. And I just stopped playing because that was right around the time The Last of Us Part 2 came out. And I probably will get back to it at some point, but I really did enjoy the combat of this game. And the graphics were amazing. Let me pull up a trailer here. And like I said, I never played the original Final Fantasy VII. I think I said that before, but and yeah, the story I was digging it a little bit. I don't know if I was fully ingrained into the story, but I can see why this game is a classic, a PlayStation classic, and I would say my favorite part about it is definitely the combat. And yeah, I mean, I haven't really played a lot of games like this with this combat style, and I'm definitely looking forward to playing it again. I think I'm definitely going to play it again, and I did enjoy. I think the boss fights in this game are awesome, and I do find Cloud, his weapon there, what do you call it? I can't remember what it's called. It's a really fun weapon to play around with. The big sword there. I can't remember what it's called. But no, I think I have to be in the right mood to play this game again, but I think before Part 2 of Final Fantasy VII Remake comes out, I think I definitely will get back to it. And I enjoyed how you could switch characters on the fly, and how you could use their abilities in combat, and you had to strategize and figure out what characters worked, what abilities worked in certain circumstances, and yeah, it just the combat in this game is I really enjoyed it. It's really fun. You know what? I think I will rank this, even though I haven't got by it yet. Admittedly, I was getting a little bit bored with the story as I got deeper into it. I would say in the first like 15 to 20 hours, I enjoyed it a lot more than after the 20-hour mark. I feel like it started to slow down a little bit, or just started to feel like it was dragging on a little bit. But Final Fantasy VII Remake for now, I'll put that. Put that right after Control here, so at my number 4 slot. And like I said, if I play more of it, if I get by it, maybe I'll rank it higher. And when I do this rankings again in the future, it may be higher. So we'll see. Okay, so moving on to the next game here. Minecraft, of course, one of the most popular video games of all time. I downloaded it a few years ago just to try it out. I've never played Minecraft before that. Played it for maybe like 20 minutes. I don't know. I just was trying to test it out, trying to learn the game. Admittedly, I haven't really been compelled to touch it ever since. I think I got it for like $10, so I was like, I'll just try Minecraft out and see what the big fuss is. I don't know if it's really my type of game. I know it's extremely popular and it seems like a very relaxing game. It seems like it could be like a good chill game if I just learn the basics of it and learn how to play it. But yeah, I just haven't been really compelled or motivated to play it. Now, Twin Breaker, a sacred symbols adventure. Now, for those of you who don't know, this game, so Colin Moriarty, who has this Sacred Symbols podcast, he owns the developer Lilimo Games, and they developed this game. And Colin's actually the character on the left. I believe he actually wrote the story for this game. And Chris, I don't know what his last name is, but he goes by Chris Raygun on YouTube. He's part of the Sacred Symbols podcast, which is a PlayStation podcast, and I really enjoy their podcast. I listen to it every week. I listen to every episode. And this is a twin stick shooter. And let me see actually if there's a trailer for it. But I haven't got back to it yet. I haven't played through the whole story, but it's, it's not really like, I mean, it's a good game to just pick up. Sacred Symbols. So of course, I get all the Sacred Symbols podcast videos. Twin Breaker. But yeah, no, I enjoy Sacred Symbols podcast, and I haven't really played too many Brick Breakers. So let me just, it's a short trailer. Yeah, I mean, this is Colin owns it. I would call it an indie game developer. So, did I call this a twin stick shooter? It's not a twin stick shooter. It's a brick breaker. So, no, I find this game pretty fun, and I played it, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 hours. At some point, I probably will get back to it and just try to complete all the levels. But no, I think it's a good little indie game there. And if you enjoy the Sacred Symbols podcast and the Last Stand Media, the content they put out, I definitely think you should try this out. And there's some, I felt like there was like some cool Easter eggs from the Sacred Symbols podcast in this game. But maybe I'm making that up. But anyway, I enjoyed this game, and should I rank it? I don't know. I really don't remember much from it, honestly. And that's not because it's bad. I just don't think I played it enough. So I think for now I'm going to leave that unranked. Resident Evil 3... I played Resident Evil 2 Remake. I played one of the campaigns with Leon. Admittedly, I'm not really that big into Resident Evil. I'm a very casual Resident Evil fan, and Resident Evil 2 was actually the first Resident Evil game I played from start to finish. And I never played the original Resident Evil 2 back on the PS1. But the demo I tried out for a short time. Graphics were very impressive, but obviously I'm not going to rank a demo here, and I don't know if I'll ever go to Resident Evil 3. I may play Resident Evil 8 eventually, but I'm not sure. Persona 5, I played for a good number of hours, maybe 10 to 15, but I know it's a very long JRPG, and I just don't know if it's my cup of tea. And the turn-based combat, I just don't know if I'm a fan of turn-based combat. And I don't know, it's a little bit too anime for me. I'm not really a hardcore anime person, and just a little bit too much anime for me is just like, not really into it. I know a lot of people love Persona and they rave about this game, and I found this game to be a little bit relaxing. It's almost like I don't even know how to describe it. Like, I think people call it like a social sim. But I found the music pretty good, and I thought the art style was kind of interesting. But honestly, I don't really have much to say other than that. So Persona 5, I'm not gonna rank. I just don't know if I will go back to it ever. LA Noir, I played a little bit. I never played the original back on PS3, but of course it's a Rockstar game, and it's a detective game. And the cool part about this game is they use like they motion captured facial animations. So the reason they did that is because you'll be interrogating suspects in these crimes that you'll be a detective for, and you have to try to figure out. You'll have these dialogue options to try to figure out if they're lying or if they're hiding something. And I definitely think I want to get back to this game at some point. And it takes place in, I want to say maybe the 1940s in Los Angeles. So yeah, I enjoyed maybe, I don't know, maybe the 5 hours I played of it. So, and I do enjoy Rockstar games. This is an old trailer, but yeah, I mean, it definitely feels like a Rockstar game. Yeah, but I can't rank this game, so. But look at, this game is from 10 years ago, and look at the facial animations. Yeah, so yeah, it's a fun game. Really immersive game too. But I can't rank it just because I haven't played enough of it yet. Tetris Effect. I tried it out. I think I played it a couple times. You know, it's Tetris with cool music. Really, I'm not really good at Tetris, but Tetris is such a good game, and you know, there's so many versions of Tetris. I mean, it goes back to what, like the 1980s on the original Game Boy, and yeah, it's just a fun puzzle game. I mean, it's Tetris, just kind of a different coat of paint. Have I played enough of it? I mean, I haven't played all the modes, but again, it is Tetris, and you know what Tetris is. I'm not gonna rank it because I haven't played all the modes yet. So I mean, it is a good game, and like I said, it is Tetris, but yeah, I feel like I haven't got the full Tetris Effect experience yet, though. So, right. So Dreams. Now, Dreams. Let me pull up a trailer here for those of you who don't know. This is a developer behind Little Big Planet 1 and 2. It's weird to call Dreams even a game because it feels like more like a game engine, a game developer engine, because a big part of Dreams is using a tool set that you have and sculpting games from that tool set. And it's a very in-depth developer toolkit. And there's been some amazing creations in the Dreams universe there. And I tried it out for maybe 15 to 20 hours, and for some reason I don't know if I lost interest. I think I just moved on to other games. But again, it's weird to call this a game. There is like a main story to it that you can play through that was completely developed in Dreams. But this game slash engine, I think, has potential to be popular if they can market this game right. And I would say they need to get this out on PC. At this point, it's only on the PlayStation consoles, I'm pretty sure. And if you think you may be interested in getting into game development as a career, I think this is a good beginner level toolkit. And I've actually dabbled in game development a little bit. I've tried out Unity a little bit, but it's just like, it's so overwhelming from when you're first a beginner and you're trying to learn everything, Dreams definitely was easier to pick up and learn. And I found it quite satisfying to learn and go through the tutorials. And you have to go through the tutorials in this game because it's not something you can just like pick up and just figure out pretty easily. I would definitely suggest doing the tutorials, and it definitely has that Little Big Planet charm to it. And I did enjoy the Little Big Planet games where you could create levels in that. I would call Little Big Planet a game because that felt more like a game. This feels like a toolkit, a developer toolkit, game engine. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a very impressive game engine, and I think they should get this out on more platforms. And apparently they're going to be selling games that are made in Dreams, so I guess that's some way to entice people to build stuff on their platform and for Media Molecule to make more money. I know some people are kind of just wish Naughty Dog, Media Molecule would just go back to making just standard games and go back to more what Little Big Planet was. But I think Dreams is very impressive for what it tries to do, and I think it does it quite well. And it again, like, it's weird to call it a game, but I think it does still have game elements to it. So Dreams, should I rank it? I don't know if I dive deep enough into it because there's so many things to learn in it. So I think for now I'm gonna leave Dreams unranked. Okay. So what I think I'm gonna do here, guys, I've been going for a little while. I think I'm actually gonna end the video now, end the stream, and I think I'm gonna do a second stream at some point at a later date and have a second part to this video. But I hope you're enjoying the rankings so far. Looks like I still have a number of games left to rank here. So I hope you're enjoying this, and I will see you in the next stream or video there. Have a good one.